to Lit Vibes Only, where we lit the shit out of books we love and hate. I'm Kelsey, the unhinged, diehard romantic and fantasy reader.
And I'm Amanda, the insightful thrill seeker and historical fiction nerd. Welcome, welcome, welcome once again to another Lit It or Quit It episode, which is sure to get pretty lit.
So just Amanda's gonna lit the shit out of it.
Just a little foreshadowing. But
I'm so excited to talk about this book.
Before we get carried away, make sure that you are following us on our socials. If you are not, we are on Instagram at @litvibesonly_podcast. And we're also on TikTok and YouTube at Lit Vibes Only Podcast. So make sure to head over there, follow, comment, subscribe. And if you are not on socials, but want to reach out just with questions or book recommendations, or just to say, hey, I love you guys, you can reach us via email at litvibesonlypodcast@gmail.com. But most importantly, we do. We love getting emails. We feel so official. But most importantly, if you haven't yet, please rate and review our podcast. We would love that so much. It only takes 2 seconds to hit that 5-star rating. You can do it right now while you're listening. And then once you're done, if you're feeling extra generous, you can also take a moment and leave us a 1 or 2 sentence review on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. On Spotify, it'll just be a comment on this episode, and that will just do wonders for us in this season of giving. Give us the gift of your ratings and reviews. That's all we want for Christmas. Thank you so much. And this is going to be a great episode. I know Kelsey's really excited.
Yes.
And I am here.
I studied for this episode. I was like, oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Right,
and there's so much to this book. Good Lord. But before that, Kelsey, what are you currently reading? Finished reading?
No, I'm currently reading.
Okay.
It's something that I've been wanting to read for almost a whole year. But I had to wait until not necessarily spooky season, but just fall vibes. And it's called One Dark Window.
Oh, I've seen this.
By Rachel Gillig. And yeah, I wasn't sure if I was going to like it because people are really split on it.
Okay.
I don't know that you would like it, but
is it romantasy?
Yes. But it's not heavy on the smut at all.
Okay.
It's just there's parts of it that like rhyme. And I just don't know how you would feel about that.
I like poetry. Like when you say it rhymes, what do you like? Are there rhymes in the...
There's like parts in the very beginning of the chapters where it's like reading from a card and it's like rhyming.
Okay. Okay, let's see.
Like this.
Oh.
So there are these cards. And then that's all like a poem. But then it's sprinkled in to the book as well. And I'm like, why is it rhyming randomly? And so it's just
so like the prose is randomly rhyming.
Yes,
I see. I think I might find that a little cheesy if it's not done well.
It is a little.
If it's like connected to some, I don't know, like bigger theme or motif and it's done well, I think I'd be fine with it because I love words and literature and poetry. But if it comes across as like cheesy or trite or I don't know, I don't understand the purpose, then I think it would take me out of the story.
It takes me out of the story. But overall, I really enjoy it. And I like the plot to it.
What is the premise?
Magic.
The cover makes me think it's like dark academia.
No, it's not academia, but you don't find out what One Dark Window is until 75% of the way through.
Oh God.
And but it's cool. So it's basically the magic system basically are these cards that hold magic, and you find out how they were created like later on in the first book. And people have like random cards and they came across them by bartering or trading things or items or even people. And they all do like different things. Like one, I believe this is the right thing. It's called chalice and it makes you tell the truth. It makes like you use it and other people have to tell the truth. Also at the very beginning, you find out that there's this disease called like the fever or something. And if someone has had that disease, they end up having magic, and these people are like illegal in this society. And so they end up getting murdered or killed if they are found out. And so the main character has had the fever and no one can see her magic because it's like in her head. And I won't tell you more, but anyway, it is interesting. I
This
do like it.
reminds me of, what is that book you had me read, Reckless, where like some of the people were like killed by this
Oh, sure.
disease, and there was
It's
like,
not like Reckless though.
no, I know,
Not
but
like
like that
Fearless
element,
or
Fearless, whatever the first one was, Fearless.
Powerless is what the first
Power,
one
what
was.
one of the
Fearless
less
was the
is
last one.
powerless. It reminds me of Powerless, like that aspect of like folks getting sick and then magic being involved in powers.
Yeah.
Okay, I just finished my 100th book, so I have technically met my second book
Woohoo.
goal for the year, and
Yeah,
it was
where
an
was it
audio.
at first?
So originally I set for 50.
Oh, okay.
And then I hit that in like June or
Yeah.
yeah. And I was like, let me
Early.
just double it. So I did. And I also hit that one. So I think I'm just going to leave it. I'm not going to reset it at this point,
Yeah.
but I'm going to see. Yeah, maybe I can get 10 or 15 more books in for the rest of the year. We're not even halfway through. It's like November 9th right now. So I
Yeah.
think I can do a
So we
couple
got time.
more.
We
I
got
got
time.
time. I got
And
time.
Thanksgiving is in the middle of that. So
Yeah.
that's a time for
That's a
reading.
time for reading. And Christmas break will be, our winter break will be
Oh,
happening. And that's
yeah.
also in the lead up. So
Exactly.
I think I'll get at least 15 more in there. But I hit my 100th book with an audiobook called The River Has Roots by Amal El Motar. And this book was recommended by maybe Book Huddle again as a really amazing audiobook. And it's a fantasy book because there's like magic involved.
Oh.
The magic in this world is grammar, both in the way that we think about grammar and more than that. And it follows the story of these two sisters. But the thing that makes this audiobook so unique is that there's like sound effects, there's music, there's singing. So it's
Oh.
like this full audio experience that goes so far
Okay.
beyond what most audiobooks do. And
Mm-hmm.
the narrator, I think, is like Scottish or Irish, has like this beautiful lilting
Oh.
accent. And even if you don't like the story itself, just like listening to it is so soothing, especially because the River Liss is like a big part of the story. And so you just hear like the water rushing in the background.
Wow.
It's just a treat. It's a treat for the ears. I did cry at the end. It's really
But it's
beautiful and moving.
fantasy.
It's fantasy.
Hmm.
Like there's a fae realm and the human realm,
Yeah.
but it almost reads like a fable. So it's like a
Hmm.
simple story. It's not very long. The audiobook is like 3 hours. It's a super short book. But yeah, highly recommend if you want just something slightly different when it comes to audiobooks.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it and zipped right through it. So that is what I just read. And we'll hopefully be starting a new book later today. Haven't decided yet, which I got a bunch of
What
books. I was telling
is?
Kelsey, I got a bunch of books in
Yeah.
from Libby all at the same time. So I need to figure out which one's going to be next. But we are here today to talk about another book, Quicksilver by Callie Hart. So,
Yes.
Kelsey, please tell our dear friends why you had me read this book.
I read this book earlier this year. It might have been one of my first reads of the year, actually. And it was like a big anticipated read for me.
Okay.
And it's a thick boy. And I just had so much fun with it. I laughed. Yeah, I laughed. I don't think I cried. I just really enjoyed the characters and also the magic, which we'll get into. And so I had no hopes of you enjoying this book because it's very typical brooding, like dark MMC and the younger FMC who has powers. Da, da. And so I didn't have high hopes for you enjoying it, but I felt like we had to talk about it because Brimstone, the second book, is coming out this month. And so our episode is coming out in December, right after
Yes.
the release, actually.
Yeah.
Perfect
So very
timing.
timely. Yeah. And I know this is like a huge book talk book. It has a huge following.
It is.
People are obsessed.
And you know what's funny?
What's
When I was
funny?
looking at my 5-star reviews, Book Huddle was actually one of the reviewers.
I know. Literally just this morning, I was on her account on Instagram and she was talking about the Brimstone release. And I was like, okay, all right. Okay. Well, thank you.
So,
Thank you, Kelsey, for
So.
your providing your reasoning. I appreciate that.
So tell us, Amanda, was this a lit it or quit it for you?
I think this actually might surprise you a little bit. I would say that this book was a soft quit it.
Okay.
I was fully anticipating like absolutely loathing this book like I did like, bride or divine rivals.
Okay,
but I don't have that level of distaste for this book. And I think it is largely, well, there's two reasons. I won't get into them all here, but I will just say it's largely due to the fact that I skimmed the smut. I was like, I know if I actually read this, I'm going to hate this book. So I'm just going to do myself a favor and just skim right over this. And I think that really helped. So yeah. Okay.
Really just taking out part of the book.
Yes.
There wasn't that much, was there? I don't remember there being that much.
There was enough.
It was not that much. It was like maybe 2-3 scenes.
No, I think there was 3.
Okay. See.
Yeah.
Wasn't that much.
But anyhow, we will get to that. So I'm going to do the summary. This book is, I actually have it here for those folks
that's my copy.
Yep. It's Kelsey's copy. It is 609 pages. Okay. So let's just let that lie for a second. I had to suffer for 609 pages through this book. So I'm going to try and summarize it. Again, it's a long book, so I'm going to keep it pretty simple and straightforward, and then we will dive into all the lovely details in our discussion. So this book starts in this world called Zilverin, specifically in this city called the Silver City. And it starts off with our lovely FMC, Saris Fane. And in this world, it's a desert world. So there's 2 suns in the sky. It's basically blazing hot all the time. The sun's never set.
Yep.
And because of this, water is very much a commodity. And this world is broken up into districts, essentially. And our FMC lives in the poorest district, the 3rd. And they've essentially been quarantined because people believe that they're diseased. They get very limited water rations, and the ones that they do are essentially polluted and make people super sick. So it's rough going in the 3rd. This world is ruled over by this immortal queen called Queen Madra, and she's not a nice lady. So anyhow, Saris Fane, she is your typical like badass FMC. She knows how to fight. She's scrappy and tough. And essentially the story kicks off with her stealing part of a guard's armor. So part of Madra's guards, she steals like his gauntlet. And we quickly realize that her relationship to metal, there's something off about it. Metal reacts weirdly when she's around. And she's noted this. She doesn't know why, and she doesn't do too much investigating into it, but that's there, a little bit of foreshadowing. Saris has a younger brother named Hayden, who is 20. I believe Saris is like 24. And he tends to get himself in trouble. He likes to gamble. And so she very much takes care of him, as both her mother and her father have died. Her mother was killed by Queen Madra's guard. So this stealing of the gauntlet triggers this whole series of events that ultimately ends up with Saris getting arrested and being taken to the queen's palace. And there she's essentially interrogated by the queen and the queen's captain of the guard, Heron. And the queen hints that maybe Saris is not like fully human. And ultimately, the queen decides that Saris needs to die for her transgressions and instructs Heron to essentially torture and kill her. In the process of Heron killing Saris, she tries to fight back with her like final dying breath. And in this moment of conflict, her powers are actualized. She ends up pulling the sword out of this like pool of what turns out to be Quicksilver. And in her dying breaths, this figure emerges from the Quicksilver and drags her down. And in her hazy state, she thinks it's death coming to claim her. Next thing we know, Saris wakes up and she's in a different realm. She's now entered a fae realm called Evelia. And she tries to get her bearings. Takes her a while to realize where she's at. And we come to find out that Death, who captured her, is actually a dark, brooding fae named Kingfisher, or Fisher for short. And she quickly becomes acquainted with some other key figures in the story. One of them is Everlane, who goes by Lane. And we find out that's Kingfisher's half-sister. The other is Renfis, or Ren, who is a captain in the army. And they form like a little trio. So it turns out that Cerys has been brought to the Winter Palace, which is ruled by this king. And King Bellicon does not like Kingfisher. We're not entirely sure why at the beginning, but he does not like him. But before he sends him away, has him executed, Ren steps in and says, hey, we have this new individual here, Cerys, who appears to be able to control Quicksilver, which is this really important element that allows individuals to travel between different realms. And Madra has basically blocked all of the realms from being used for literally, I don't know, 1,000 years or more.
Yeah.
And so when Cerys pulled this sword called Solace out of the Quicksilver, it opened the realms briefly, and that's how Kingfisher came and got her. And so they're like, oh my God, we have an alchemist on our hands potentially, and they could really change things for us. So they wanted to use Cerys to basically produce these things called relics, which will help individuals travel between realms, which they haven't been able to do for a while. Because if you try to travel through a Quicksilver portal without a relic, you run the risk of dying and or losing your mind. And we know this because Kingfisher did travel through a portal without a relic. He ended up getting infected with the Quicksilver, almost died, and there's still like a remnant of Quicksilver within him that unless he's actively controlling it by wearing a relic, it basically is going to turn him mad, make him go mad. So we have all of this context. So basically, Kingfisher and Cerys are like forced to work together on this project. Cerys is only doing this half-heartedly because she wants to go back to her realm. She is worried that Queen Madra has destroyed the entire third ward because of what Cerys has done. She fears for her brother's life, so she just wants to go home. And so ultimately, she decides to betray Kingfisher. She steals what she thinks is a relic off of his finger, his ring, sneaks down to the basement of the Winter Palace, and essentially tries to hop into a Quicksilver portal so she can go home. Kingfisher stops her right in the nick of time and is like, you're crazy. You would have died if you had done that. And now we need to leave the palace because everybody knows what you're up to. You weren't subtle at all. And if people find out that you're still here and we're trying to run off and not help King Bellicon with your alchemist powers, like we're all in trouble. So she forms an oath with Kingfisher where she essentially promises that she will make as many relics for him as he needs for his army, which we'll get to in a second, as long as he promises to like let her go back to Zilverin. And he says yes. What she doesn't realize is that there are literally thousands of relics that need to be made and that it's going to take a really long time. So he goes back. Fisher goes back to her realm to grab. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, I misstated that. The oath was that if she made the relics for him, he would go back and bring her brother from Zilverin to Avelia. God, there's so many details. So Kingfisher hops into the Quicksilver portal, comes back. Cerys is super excited. She rushes over to see her brother and realizes that he has actually brought back a man named Carrion Swift, who is like this kind of tricky black market guy from the third who she's slept with once and has a contentious relationship with. And so she's super annoyed. She's like, you brought back the wrong person. He's like, sorry, I thought this was your brother. That's what he said. So then the three of them escape into the night. And they end up going back to, where do they go? They go to Kingfisher's home, which is currently in a huge battle with these creatures called feeders. Okay. They've been fighting this war for centuries at this point, and neither side is really making any ground. And so Fisher is really excited that he now has an alchemist in his possession who can make relics and help his army travel around more freely and hopefully defeat these feeders. We quickly find out that these feeders are in fact the vampires.
Yeah.
Did not see that coming. And we also find out that many years ago, thousands of years ago, a curse, a blood curse was put on the Fae. And basically they were all vampires. And that's why there are no more humans in this world. They basically killed them all. Ultimately, the blood curse was broken. The majority of Fae were like, yes, wonderful. We don't want to be vampires anymore. But a small faction of them decided to stay vampires. And the leader of that faction is called Malcolm. And he is the one who is basically waging war on the other Fae in this land. Again, long story short, Cerys ultimately joins the fight for freedom with Kingfisher and his pals. And so a good chunk of the book is them at the front lines. in the battleground, there's a river that runs through it that separates the Fae from the feeders. And it's just like this, it's a stalemate, honestly. Neither side is making any real progress. Whenever the river freezes, like the vampires will try to cross. So then the Fae will use giant hammers and break up the ice, and the vampires fall into the water and get washed away. And like they just repeat this cycle like every day. So there's that. I mean, there's just a lot of like them being at the front lines. Obviously, Kingfisher and Sarah start to develop feelings for each other and get it on. And ultimately, we find out that Lane, so Kingfisher's half-sister, has been kidnapped by Malcolm. Dun, dun, and he has basically started to turn her. And if they don't get her out of his grasp within, I don't know, 48 hours or something, she's going to be officially turned into a vampire. And that's that. So they launched this attack, this mission to save her. Kingfisher decides to go it alone. He's like, don't follow me. I'm going to go fight Malcolm and I'll send her back through this portal. That's it. He goes there. He grabs Lane, shoots her out of the portal, and then Saris and Lorith, who's another friend of Kingfisher, and Carrion, they dive through the portal and go the other way, basically so they can go and rescue Fisher. Fisher is not happy about this. We find out that Fisher had gone missing for, I don't know, 110 years or something. Nobody knew where he was, and he wouldn't talk about where he's been. But it turns out he had actually been Malcolm's prisoner for 110 years. Malcolm kept him in this like maze, trapped in this maze, labyrinth for like over 100 years. And the only way he was allowed to get out is if he made it to the center and then also found this coin. And I won't get into all of that because that's a whole nother thing. But long story short, they show up to save Kingfisher. They realize that Bellicon, Queen Madra, and Malcolm are all working together to basically rule their respective kingdoms, rule their respective cities. Yeah. And they're all horrible shits. And so they put our lovely group of heroes into the maze. They face some trials and challenges, one of them which is a giant disgusting spider. And ultimately, God, there's so much in this book. Saris uses her magical powers, her Quicksilver powers, to kill Malcolm, find this coin that needed to be found, which broke this curse that was basically being held over Kingfisher. And in the process, Saris is mortally wounded. And so in order to make sure that she doesn't die, she essentially gets turned. And at the end of the book, we realize that she is now like half Fae and half vampire, which is like never been seen before in these lands. So she's like this whole new kind of being. And at the very end, we find out that since she killed Malcolm, who was the king of the vampires, and since Malcolm did not have an heir, essentially law dictates that she now is the heir to the throne. So she now has become essentially the queen of the damned, the queen of the vampires. She's the queen of Sansaroth. And that is how this book ends. There's a lot more to it. There's so much more. I skipped a lot. But in a nutshell, that is what happens.
Essentially, yes.
In this book.
You did a good job.
Like, big picture. Thank you. It, again, definitely one of those books. For sure, read it because there's a lot that happens.
Yeah.
So much that happens.
So you're telling people to read it.
If you're going to listen to this episode, you should probably read it. Otherwise, you're going to be like, what the heck just happened? What was that summary?
Okay.
Oh, that was exhausting. Okay.
So, Amanda, thank you for the summary. We always start out with the things that you enjoyed or that we enjoyed about the book that was recommended to us. What are the things that you did enjoy that made it that it wasn't a strong quit it? Yeah. So for one, this is a minor thing, but I actually really appreciated that this book, unlike other fantasy books, had a pronunciation guide at the very beginning, because some of these words are pretty wonky. And when I can't pronounce something or don't know how to pronounce it, it throws me and annoys me. So I really appreciated that little addition. I know it's overdone, but I do love a badass FMC who can hold her own, who's a strong fighter, who, like I said earlier, is scrappy and resilient. I don't think that's ever going to get old for me. So I appreciated that Saris definitely fulfilled that role in the story. I think
more generally speaking, I did appreciate the setting and the premise. Like, as this world was like being built, I was like, oh, this is cool. I like this concept. I like this idea. I'm intrigued. I want to know more.
Okay.
And that persisted for most of the book, where I was like, if I just look at
and then
this.
came the vampires.
So if I just look at this world and kind of the conflict that she's setting up, I'm like, I'm here for that. I'm okay with it. I'm curious. So I appreciated that aspect. Oh, this is a little thing, but Archer, who is like this little fire sprite who's obsessed with Kingfisher and loves him so much. I just thought he was the cutest. And anytime he showed up on the page, I was like, oh, Archer, you're adorable. I'm looking at my notes too. What else? It actually annoys me when MMCs give FMCs nicknames, because I'm like, this is stupid. But I will say that I appreciated that at the end of the novel. So he calls her like little Osha. Yes. And tells her that it has something to do with butterflies. But then you find out at the end that Osha actually means most sacred. And I just thought that was really beautiful and romantic. And like he
tugged at your heartstrings.
It did tug at my heartstring. I like put 2 teary-eye emojis after it. And I did maybe tear up a little bit when I read Kingfisher's letter to Saris at the end. So they've like just made love and he decides, hey, I actually am going to leave and face Malcolm on my own. You're amazing. Go live your life. And I was like, so, those were some of the things.
Okay, though, Carrion didn't make that list. Amanda.
Of the things that I liked. I mean, he was fun. Like, he was definitely the comic relief.
Yes.
And definitely a character I enjoyed. And I had a sneaking suspicion that he was like at the beginning when he first shows up, I'm like, oh, you're not going anywhere. Like you are definitely going to be a key part of this story. And then as soon as I found out that the Dianthius I don't know how to say that. I should look in the glossary. I don't know if it's in there. As soon as they say at the beginning, it's not in the glossary. Oh, it is Dianthus. As soon as I found out that there's like this missing Dianthus heir who has been lost to the human realm, I instantly was like, oh, it's Carrion. Like first of all, there's no other options. So that was not a big reveal at the end when it's like, oh my gosh, like you're actually Fae and not human. You've been living like, I was like, duh, obviously. And I also was like, okay, of course we have to have Carrion show up because what would a romantasy novel be without a freaking love triangle? That was just like, okay, so obvious. But yeah, I guess
barely a love triangle.
I mean, but there was like at least a little bit of additional sexual tension, enough to make Kingfisher jealous, right? Like that was why he was there. The other thing too, I will say is, and I always say this for fantasy books, I'm always looking for it. There were like 2 characters of color. They weren't huge characters, but they were there. We had the librarian and Taylena. So I was like, okay, you got something. 2. So it's better than nothing. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
I also was curious. I really enjoyed the parts where Saris is figuring out her alchemy powers and talking to the Quicksilver, and when she figures that out. Yeah. What were your thoughts on her?
It was funny. So in one of my notes, so essentially for the listeners, she is basically put in a forge, which she loves working. She loves metalworking. It's what she did when she was living in Zildaern. She's put in a forge and they're basically like, figure out how to turn these thousands of rings, right, into relics that these Fae warriors can wear to hop between portals. And is basically left to figure it out. She has to go through these series of experiments. Yeah, she's learning how to listen to and talk to the Quicksilver. And I was like, this reminds me, and I'm sure you've heard of this story and probably read it when you were a child. It reminded me so much of Rumpelstiltskin, right? Where like she's basically locked in a room full of hay or straw or whatever. And they're like, you can't leave this room until you spend all of this straw into gold. And I was like, this is Rumpelstiltskin. Like you basically can't leave this realm or this forge until you figure it out, use your powers and turn all of these rings into relics. It was a way to show her like growth and development as a character, but I can't say that those scenes were of particular interest to me compared to other parts of the book. Okay. I wasn't like, oh yay, she's back in the forge talking to the Quicksilver again and mixing up random combinations. Like, I
I
don't know. It
just
didn't do a whole lot
enjoyed
for me.
hearing from the Quicksilver. That was fun to me.
Oh, yeah. And then you find out, which I didn't say in the summary,
Summary.
the voices that she's hearing are like the gods. So this world
Mm.
is ruled over by a bunch of different gods. And the main one is Zareth, which was like, okay, Zeus. And he has two daughters, I think Baal and Min, who are like the two sons that shine in the human realm. Anyhow, and it turns out Zareth is the god of chaos. And he has been trying to keep Kingfisher and Ceres apart because any
Mm-hmm.
time, at least in his like foretelling of the future, that they come together, basically the world ends. The world's end. And so he's actively trying to keep them apart, which is why Ceres was technically supposed to be born a fae, was not supposed to be born in the human world. And that was his interference in trying to keep them from finding each other and falling in love. But he's like, no matter what I did, you guys always found each other like in every possible permutation, every possible timeline. And yeah, it turns out she's actually speaking to the gods through the Quicksilver.
Yes.
Which, yeah.
And in the scene at the end where she's in the dream state, but she ended up talking to the gods themselves, or is it just what is his name? Zareth.
She talks to them and his two daughters.
Yeah, they're all there.
Yeah.
She decides that she wants to live, so that means she can no longer be human, and so that's why she ends up being half fae, half vampire.
Yes.
So
That's the deal she makes. Because he's like, if you choose to exist, you have to exist outside of what is. Otherwise, like, I can interfere, other gods can interfere. And so she has to be made into something new, never before seen, so that she's basically shielded from the gods' interference. They can no longer see her anymore and interfere in her life. But I think that was the thing with this book, right?
Yes.
Is that Callie Hart is just trying to do too much, right? Like, I think she's trying to cram too many tropes and like too many fantasy ideas and themes into one book. And it just got a little bit overwhelming and a little convoluted. And so by the end of the book, I felt like I was working pretty hard to keep everything straight because one, you have the vampires, okay? But it's not just, oh, they're vampires. There's this whole convoluted history, which is not well explained, about how the blood curse got started, like, why it exists in the first place, how they broke the blood curse to begin with, you know. And there's all of these, like, that could have been the story itself. Like, you could have created like this insane kind of fae vampire story that just focused on that lore, and that would have been more than enough. But then she also adds all of these gods and deities and their involvement in the story, which was like, okay, wait. But when that scene happened at the end, when she's like off in the realm, I was like, oh my God, oh my gods. Like, this is too much. How am I supposed to keep track of all of the various realms that exist? Also, this crazy thing happening with the vampires who are also fae, but also not vampires. And then I also have to keep track of all of these different gods and the ways that they've interacted with each other. And it was just too much. It was too much. And
it's setting up the series, Amanda. This is what series are all about.
I know, but it was just like so much exposition and so much like information overload. It was like so much front loading. And I think any one of those things by themselves would have been enough. Especially if it was like really well done. I've been like, that I am satisfied. This is a really fun read. I'm so engaged. But I almost felt like being inside of like my ADHD brain was like, ooh, that would be a cool idea. Ooh, let's do this. Ooh, what if we did this too? And it's like, no, calm down. Your readers need to be able to like firmly situate themselves within this story. And that was hard to do at times. And then also keeping track of just like all of the magic and how it worked. And you have these swords that are like imbued with god power and also Quicksilver, but how does that work? And how, like, it was just, there was a lot. There was a lot.
And not a lot of answers yet.
And not a lot of, and you could tell, even though I don't read a lot of series, you could tell, oh, this is something that is going to be revisited in the next book. Like, even the blood curse, I'm like, okay, this is clearly something they're going to dive more into. Like, how did it come to be? How did they end it? All of that. But, you know, for me, who's a one and done book girly, I'm just like, I just want the answers now. And this is like a fire hose to the face of information, and I don't appreciate it.
I really think that that Brimstone is going to be more about the vampire politics and lore, like what you're talking about, like this blood.
Well, it's interesting though, because I looked at the description, the book description on Goodreads,
and for Brimstone.
And it looks like the majority of the story is taking place in Zilverin.
Okay.
So it sounds like it's actually not going to be largely focused on the
Hmm.
vampires. It's going to be focused on Fisher and Carrion going
Uh-huh.
back to the
Yeah.
Silver City. So I'm just like,
I
I don't know.
love that
I
so
don't
much.
know. Yeah, I don't know how much it actually is going to be diving into the vampire lore. It's obviously going to be a part of it because she's now the queen of the vampires
Yes.
and living in Almontraeth, which is like the stronghold of Malcolm or Malcolm's stronghold. But yeah,
So do you
I
think
guess
it's
we'll
like
see.
a different POV then? Is it going to be from Kingfisher?
It
Because I,
sounds like it. I
yeah,
don't know. It could
because I
be.
don't think, I think that Saris is going to stay behind
She has to because she
because,
can't be underneath the burning suns anymore.
yeah, or
So
they
that's why
don't really know yet
well, that's what it
because
says in the book description
oh, in the Brimstone?
for Brimstone. They're like,
Oh,
she can't go
Amanda,
back to her.
I haven't even read the book
See,
cover
okay,
for
I have done my.
Brimstone.
Do you see the
So are
level of
you?
dedication and research here?
I'm so curious.
Well, I was curious, so I went and looked. I was like, what is this going to be about? Because honestly, like I said, I, without the smut and the stupid fucking sexual banter that was just dumb and awkward and cringe,
Loved it.
I
Loved it.
actually didn't mind this book that much. I was curious. There were like these random twists where I was like, wait, okay, there's vampires now. And even when they were in the maze, I love
Yeah.
kind of trials and they had to encounter this disgusting spiders. Like,
Labyrinth was really cool.
it's definitely a fairly fast-paced book, especially given its length.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I was bored at any point in this book.
Okay.
Annoyed, yes. Cringe, yes. But I wasn't like, oh, nothing's happening, right? That didn't happen for me in this book.
That's great.
But it was like one of those things where like, I understand listeners, like I get it. I know so many of you enjoy smut and hey, I would never yuck anyone's yum. But when I was reading this book, I was like, okay, I'm like caught up in like this world and the magic and like the action and all of this stuff. And then out of nowhere, I just get slapped upside the head with some random comment about how big his cock is. I'm like, I don't need this. This is not helpful. I do not care. This is not pushing the plot along in any sort of meaningful way. Like, what? Like, it just felt so jarring. It's like, oh, yeah, there's this, there's that. They're figuring this out. And is she part Fae? What's happening? And then, yeah, one or the other of them would like make some stupid sexual innuendo. And it was like, this feels so contrived and so forced. And I don't care. You're ruining a really good story by randomly interjecting either a smut scene or just, yeah, stupid sexual banter. And
I really want to read this again.
it just drove me crazy. I was just like, this doesn't do anything for me. And you're actually ruining what could be a really good story.
You know, what would be so interesting is if a version of these books did exist in that way. And so for readers
I
that
actually
like
was
you,
thinking that when I was reading this, can we have like a smut-free version and then like an uncensored version for those of you who really enjoy it? Because the only thing that you get out of those smut scenes that do advance the plot is one, you find out that they are in fact mates, which is crazy because true mates have not been a thing in this world for a very long time. And you find out that because of that, they also are able to communicate telepathically. That is it. That is the only meaningful information you get out of those scenes. And you could totally get that information without them. And from what I did skim of the smut scenes, like they did seem to be a bit more dark and a bit more rough in nature, which I know some folks really enjoy. And I'm just like, hey, do you? But I don't care. I just don't care. Go get a room and then close the door. And I don't
want your eyes. Interesting. So funny.
Yeah. I don't know. But as soon as I found out they were fated mates, I was like, oh God, this is why Kelsey loves this book. One of the many reasons. I know you love fated mates. I'm like, here we go again. So this like trope has been
they both have to accept the mating bonds. Like, yes. I love it when that happens or has to happen. The one I'm reading right now, mate. It's just clicks. They're just mates. Oh, okay.
I don't get it.
They have to acknowledge their love for one another.
Yeah, but like the other thing that made it so much more cringe though in this book was because the Fae, even though a lot of them no longer are vampires, or at least they don't act on their instincts. So they can still bite people. They can still act on those instincts and like drain a human of their blood. They also can bite someone's neck when they're having sex to increase like the pleasure that both people are experiencing, which does happen. But I think like the thing that made this fated mates thing so much more cringe was like the freaking PTSD from Twilight where he's like, oh, your scent, like just the way that you smell. And I'm just like, oh my God, not again. I don't know.
That is so true with so many mate.
I know, but for me, I just instantly think of Edward and Bella, and I'm just like, oh,
the
God.
vampires didn't make you think of that?
No, I did, but but he also was just like, because there's the whole scene in Twilight, especially like in the first book, where he just like he can't
be around her because
and it's like this whole thing, and I'm just like, okay, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think the other thing that bothered me too, which I've mentioned before with these books, is I personally don't like it when fantasy characters run around talking like snarky millennials. It just doesn't do anything for me.
Like Karen.
Especially like when half of their little quips and jokes were just like not funny and were just so painfully cringe. I'm like, just have them talk high fae. I'm totally here for it. This is doing nothing for me. And honestly just takes me out of this world, this separate world that you're trying to build. That mashup of like, yeah, let's write these kind of high fantasy novels, but also have them talk like either millennials or 18-year-olds. It just, that mashup does not work for me. I know for a lot of people it does.
Oh, yes.
But I just find it really jarring. I don't know.
I love it. I love it. And Carrion, oh my God, he made this book for me. I would not have loved this book as much as I did without him.
Yeah, he was fun. I don't have a whole lot to say about him. Like, he's definitely just a comic relief side character and he has a good heart, but I don't know. I'm
so excited to see him in the next book.
It sounds like he's definitely gonna have a much larger role, which should be better.
But if him and Kingfisher are the ones going together, that's going to be hilarious. I can't wait.
It's going to be really funny. So just because they're very different.
Kingfisher's just like this.
Yeah, it's like the normal dichotomy. It's like the dark, brooding, moody dude. And then the funny, lighthearted. It's like Grumpy Sunshine. It's Grumpy Sunshine, but between two dudes, you know?
It's going to be great.
Yeah.
This book comes out before this right before this episode comes out. Yeah. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to read it right away, though.
It's going to be super long.
Maybe try at the end, at the end of the year in December.
Yeah, and winter break. Yeah. That would make sense.
But other than that.
Yeah, I don't have much else to say. There's a dragon. Speaking of just chucking everything in this book.
I don't remember the dragon.
So the dragon's not like in the story in terms of the present, and not in the present, but a dragon was slain in the lore of this story in the past. And there's like a giant dragon skull above King Belicon's throne. And I think that's going to come back in the second book, or at least at some point in the series, because there's a lot of foreshadowing there. And I was like, oh my gosh, dragons and vampires and gods. It was just, that's what I mean. It was just like, yeah, dragons and vampires and gods. Oh my. I was like, oh, Callie, just, I know you're really excited and want to do all the things, but also you don't need to do all the things. And I will say the one final thing I will say about smut in this book.
Oh my goodness.
Is there's a scene where Sarah's, she's been working really hard in the forge all day to make this amazing new sword for Lorith, who's one of the soldiers working for Ren and for Kingfisher. And so at the end of the day, she's exhausted. She's been on her feet for like 24 hours, blah, blah. Kingfisher takes her back to his tent in the war camp and puts her in the bathtub, and she basically passes out because she's so tired. And he like washes her hair at one point, and then also she like puts her hand on the side of the tub and he just like gently strokes her fingers. I'm like, that to me is so much more like toe curling and romantic and sensual versus them just roughly fucking each other in a bedroom. You know what I mean? Like for me, like I think there's something so much more titillating about that, which is like unspoken and hinted at versus just like laying it all out for me. And that gets me going. And I'm like, that's all I need. I just need that little tease. And then they can do what they want to do. I don't need every single detail. Like that's between you and Boo, and I don't need to know. And I think that's where my disconnect is. That comes because even in Heartless Hunter, I think I remember talking about this. Like the thing that I really loved was him making her these beautiful dresses, taking the time to craft something that was so like delicate, and also doing something that we normally attribute to women, like being a seamstress, like making dresses, or in Fearless when he braids her hair. Like those things to me, I'm like, yes, please. But I just, I don't know.
Small moments. Yeah.
Yeah, the actual act in detail. I don't need that.
Yeah, that's been a common theme for you. Just the small kind acts of the MMC
Yeah. Or like
that you really
the
enjoy.
small, like sexy acts where it's just like, oh, like you kiss their neck or just gently stroked the underside of their wrist, like whatever it might be. Like that to me, yeah, it just carries so much more weight to it. And then you can
Yeah.
do whatever you want with your lovely imagination. But yeah, how did you feel? I know for you, it doesn't bother you, but how did you feel about the age gap? Because he's 1700 years old
Oh
and she's
yeah, I don't
24.
even. Does it exist? Why? I don't know.
So
It's like
bizarre to me.
it just doesn't like when you it
God, it's
doesn't like
disgusting.
in my brain doesn't register as this like actual age gap. I don't know what it is.
It's massive. And he still acts like a juvenile 21 emotional
Yeah, and that's
child.
probably why it doesn't register because they always make him act like fairly like around the same
I
age.
mean, men do take forever to mature, so I guess that
It's
tracks.
taken him 1,000 years to get to where he is.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So that's pretty much all I have to say about this book.
It was a lot. It was a lot, Amanda.
It was a lot. And yeah, like I said, I didn't despise it at the level that I thought I was going to, which was nice.
Surprises me.
Considering I had to read so much of it. And yeah, there were some twists I didn't see coming. Yeah, the vampire twist, her becoming the queen of the vampires at the end. I did not see that coming.
Nah, there did. You saw the
Yeah.
carrion thing coming though.
Yeah, I saw the, oh my God, from a mile away.
Especially because you just suck my blood.
Especially because there was literally no one else it could have been. Because if it was some random character that she hadn't already introduced, it wouldn't have made sense. And he's the only person, the only male from the human world that is currently in this story that it could be. Yeah. So it was pretty obvious. But yeah, that's it.
That's it. Okay. Thank you, Amanda.
You're so welcome.
Get into our 1-star and 5-star reviews?
Yes, it's time for a little bit of literally the best or literally the worst. I, of course, have 1-star reviews.
And I have 5.
I have one really long one, but then I balanced it out with a bunch of really short ones.
Okay. Mine are kind of longer.
Okay.
So we'll see.
I actually, the first one I'm going to read, I did take a little bit out of it, but I liked everything in it. Although this person did not read the full book, and I know how we feel about people who write reviews that haven't finished. And this person DNF'd at 30%. So there's that. All right. So our first 1-star review, this is from Shelby. Another viral book talk book that doesn't live up to the hype for me. Shock. If you're happy with fantasy on Ozempic, not getting the full picture with detail, but heavy on romance, you might like this, providing you can get past the clunky writing and cringy dialogue. Oh, and the MMC being called Kingfisher, who is not a Pokemon with that name. Politics form such a huge part of a fantasy plot, and if I don't understand the world and why it's the way it is, I'm out. I actually prefer romance as a subplot, I'm realizing. It should elevate a fantasy, but in these popular romantasy books, the fantasy is sacrificed to give way for the romance, by which point I don't give a fuck about. The world. Why does the queen oppress civilians from the third, rather than ration their water and food if she's afraid rebels from the third are working with the Fae? Why doesn't she just wipe them out already? How did she even become queen? She rations water but not alcohol? Why would the queen do that? How is a tavern packed if there's a water ration? How are they making the alcohol? Why would the queen allow it? No sense was made. The passage between the hub, which is like the main part of the Silver City, and the third is forbidden due to the third being infected with a plague, yet our FMC is easily scaling a wall to cross the two. She also kept saying at the start, before she stole the gauntlet, that she had a plan. What was it? Was never answered. How is the FMC murdering 2 trained Queen's Guards and throwing down 3 of them when she's dehydrated, doesn't eat properly, and was kicked in the ribs in the previous chapter? I'm expected to accept this, and then it will make sense when I find out she's got powers or she's half whatever magical creature at 80%. I can almost guarantee it. Kingfisher didn't talk like a fae who is thousands of years old. The banter he had with the FMC was immature and became sexual so quickly. Saying he was knocked for 6, a cricket reference, super, and cliff notes took me right out of the story. It wasn't appropriate given the setting of the book. There was so much telling over showing, I couldn't get on with it. Not a vibe. Yeah, she brings up a lot of really logical points.
There's a
The one
couple
that
things here.
that really resonated with me when I read it was like, yeah, I feel like, which is what I said, is that in these books, these romantasy books, it feels like the fantasy is very much sacrificed sometimes to make way for the romance and to make it work and to squeeze in these smut scenes where I'm like, either just write a fantasy and do it really well or write a romance. I don't know. Like, there are some romantic books that blend it, I think, a lot better, but sometimes it does feel like, oh, you're looking for a place to squeeze in this sex scene, or you're looking for a place to insert some sexual banter, and it feels so contrived, and it drives me crazy.
I heard that Callie, in an interview somewhere, was saying like this first book was obviously the setup to the world, but was their romance story. And then beyond that, that's when we'll get like all of our answers to the rest of the world, and not as focused on the romance. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm curious.
It's so interesting though, because in my head too, like yes, of course, there's overlap between romance and the act of sex, but I feel like sometimes romantasy authors, it's not for all of them, but for some of them, the sex is the romance, if that makes sense. And I'm like, that's such a shallow definition of like romance or romantic relationship. And I'm not saying she's doing that here per se, but it does drive me a bit crazy because it's, such a narrow definition.
One other thing that I wanted to say, Amanda, will you put up the book cover?
Yes.
When I saw this book cover, I was like, what the fuck is that? What the fuck is that?
Same.
And apparently Callie Hart got bullied so badly for the cover that she designed, by the way. That's why she ended up changing the cover, which
to this?
No.
This is the old cover. Okay.
Yeah, that's the old cover to a new cover that's just the words Quicksilver and Brimstone. Yeah, because Brimstone's cover is just like orange lettering. And then Quicksilver also has one that's a newer one that's just Quicksilver.
I see.
Which I think is wild. But after reading the story, the cover grew on me. I was like,
it makes sense. Like it has the butterflies for little Osha, which is like the nickname. You see his tattoos. There's this Quicksilver tear because one of his eyes has Quicksilver in it. He's got his what's that called? His gorget or whatever that goes around his throat. It makes sense, but it is a bit overly dramatic.
But yeah, I just think that's so wild that can happen.
We very much judge books by their covers, and people have very strong opinions about covers, myself included.
I do too, but
I wouldn't bully someone
though.
It's
not that bad.
As far as like romantasy book covers go, no, it's not.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. My first 5-star review is from Emily Rose at the Rose House. We follow our FMC Ceres through a magic portal, oh my God, that transports her into a fae kingdom that is at war. She needs to figure out how to embrace her new alchemy magic in order to stop the war and find her way home. Hello, found family, unique magic system, plot twist, and our shadow daddy, Kingfisher. The slow burn enemies to lovers romance will have you kicking your feet. You can feel the tension radiating off the pages. And when it heats up, it gets hot. She goes on saying, this man ruined me. Special mention to the side character, Carrion. His cocky and witty banter, it was everything. I am going to be unwell until book 2 comes out. And she says, edit. Congratulations, Callie, on getting picked up on a publisher. And second edit, we are getting a movie. Oh my God.
Wait, is there going to be a movie?
Yes, there is.
Wait, so what?
She was an indie author when she first published Quicksilver.
Okay.
And 2, yes, there's a movie in production.
Oh, it's already in production.
I don't know. Okay. I don't know where
but it's in the works.
Yeah, it's in the works. But it's also so difficult to like know which ones are gonna come to fruition because they can get log jammed in so many different parts of the way. So I don't know.
Different stages, yeah.
And
now that I've read the book, I'm for sure gonna watch the movie if it comes out because
oh my gosh, we'll do it together.
I'm curious. Yes, we'll have a little movie night. Okay, my next one is literally just one sentence. This is from Anna. Okay. I'm convinced everyone is being held at gunpoint rating this 5 stars. It's crazy though, because I think there's only 6,000
Yeah,
Yeah,
star
like one
reviews.
star reviews,
I
and there's
saw
like
that.
350,000 5 stars. So it's a
Yes.
very small, less than 1%
Yeah.
of the ratings are like people love this book. It has like a 4.3 rating on
Yeah.
Goodreads. Like
High.
obsessed. Yeah, real
Yeah.
high.
Okay. Okay. This one actually is shorter. Bookish by Tammy. This is exactly what I want from fantasy romance. The fantasy elements were intriguing and ever growing, a combination of fae and vampires, a combo I didn't know I needed in my life. The audiobook was sensational. I am definitely invested and not once was I bored. So excited for book 2. That's the other thing is I listened to the audio as well. Like I read
Oh,
along and it initially I didn't like it because Kingfisher's voice is like really dark and it's like
oh,
really
okay.
deep. It's funny. And yeah, there's TikTok video sounds though that you can listen to hear like the audiobook voice. I am curious what you
Okay.
think of it.
I'm sure it's like way too much. But is it just the male narrator for the whole book, or is there a female narrator as well?
There's both. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's better. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's
'Cause-
not just the male.
Okay.
Because it's her POV and I think it's just his lines that like he's saying.
I see. Okay.
Remember, but
I will say I'm not huge into vampires, but this is the first book I read that did the Fae vampire convo, which I did think was intriguing, right? I hadn't
mm-hmm.
encountered that before.
Yeah, I
It
hadn't
did make
either,
me
I don't
like
think.
the vampire lore more interesting. And the thing is, I have nothing against vampires. I find it really fascinating. I just feel it's been overdone. But I like that she tried something different. So props to Callie for that. Okay.
Ooh.
Third 1 star review from Sue Miz. This is the age of romance authors dabbling in fantasy and romance readers 4 to 5 starring them. What is wrong with that? Because it gives a shit like this book. I am judging everyone who liked this book. Please unfriend me immediately. Stop
Oh my
making
God.
mediocre authors famous. Romance authors either leave the fantasy genre to its people or for God's sake, work on your books. God, just another Fourth Wing and reckless wannabe. Not that either of those was good. Next thing you'll tell me, Colleen Hoover is writing a fantasy.
Romantasy.
Anyhow, they clearly have strong feelings.
Clearly.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna write a romantasy, you should be able, like I said, you should be able to do them both well and make it a seamless connection between the two. And some authors are more skilled at doing that than others. That is all I will say.
I felt like it was well done in this book, so I don't care. Okay, this is from Lauren Moore, who is Book Huddle's creator.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
she's Lauren Moore on book. Oh my God, Goodreads.
On Goodreads. Okay.
Yeah. So she says, I might as well stop reading now because I found my favorite fantasy book of the year. After seeing Book Talk gush over Quicksilver, I decided to give this book a whirl. I went in completely blind and so glad I did. This book has everything you ever want in a romantasy book and then some. A Katniss Everdeen like protagonist, check. A messy haired, chiseled jawed, morally gray fae love interest, absolutely. Vampires, witches, and intricate world building, you bet. But Quicksilver goes even deeper than those service level elements. Its magic system is complex and fascinating with attributes I haven't encountered before. The side characters are interesting and multidimensional. The dialogue feels authentic, and even though the stakes are incredibly high, I found myself laughing out loud at times thanks to jokes made by Carrion, my favorite character. Do I recommend this book? Wholeheartedly. It's long, and I never wanted it to end, which to me is the ultimate sign of a great book. I can't wait for the sequel. Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah, to her point, it does have everything for better or for worse. I forgot about,
Yes.
there's witches in here too,
Witches,
people.
we
I
forgot, like, to
totally
even
forgot.
mention that.
There are also witches. They really only come in at the very end. But yeah, which again, I guess if you're living in a world that has multiple realms, it makes sense that you would have all of these different magical beings. But it is a lot to keep track of. But yeah, if you're big into fantasy and romantasy, this book has everything. So
Yeah.
it has all the tropes, all the magical creatures. Like it's like a one-stop shop for romantasy
What
lovers.
was it?
So
Fire sprite as well.
yeah, there's sprites, there's all different types of fae and fairies. Like literally has all of the things.
Yep.
Okay. My last 1 star review is from Megan Singleton. this is trash. She took every popular book talk book and smashed it together. There's no chemistry between the main characters, and the story is so horribly thought out. Don't let book talk fool you with this one, folks. Yeah, I think there was chemistry, but it did feel, like I said, it felt like mashup is a good word. Like I felt like a mashup of all the things. And I don't know that I'm always a fan of a mashup.
I so was.
I know.
Okay. My final review from Emma reads, I confess, I hate getting overwhelmed by the first book in the series, but this book has a right balance in terms of pacing, plot complexity, and characters. Callie Hart wasn't overly ambitious by attempting to write a complex plot or introducing too many characters. The gods and the elements were introduced at the end, setting up the premise for the next installment. The dialogue and banter were refreshing and enjoyable to read. Personally, I am guilty of focusing entirely on Kingfisher, who has inevitably and unconsciously stolen all the limelight in this book. But I'm hoping to read more about Renfis, Everlane, Lorith, Carrion, and dear little Osha in the next one. And perhaps a budding romance between Ren and Lane. I was especially touched by Lorith's story and his bravery too. I'm so curious about Kingfisher's real name and that Carrion Swift cliffhanger. I didn't see that coming. Hopefully it leads to an even more intriguing plot development. I foresee myself liking him more in the next installment. I can't wait for the fall.
How did they not see the Carrion Swift thing coming?
I didn't. I actually didn't.
Wait,
no.
Really?
Yeah.
As soon as that, like, they dropped that little line about there being a missing Dianthus heir, I was like, oh, done.
If it's one line, I'm not picking up on it. I'm like, whatever.
Oh, okay. I feel like with fantasy series, like they're always dropping Easter eggs. That's what they do. So anytime they hint at anything like, oh, this is going to be something.
Yeah.
Whether it's like with the dragon or with the Dianthus heir, like whatever it is, I'm like, oh, okay. Like you're laying the groundwork.
That's coming from somewhere.
But yeah, I do think there's probably going to be a relationship between Lane and Ren. There's obviously some romantic connection, some sexual tension there. It'll be curious too to see if Carrion ends up settling down with somebody because he's a
playboy.
And they at least hint at the fact that he's bi because he very much expresses interest in male characters in the books too. Yeah, we'll see.
I'm so curious because there was a lot of debate around Kingfisher's name, not like his real name, but like Kingfisher in general. It's like what kind of name is that? Yeah. And initially I was like, what? Kingfisher? But it definitely grew on me throughout the book. I was like, oh, okay, that's his name.
A lot of folks in the 1-star reviews did not like the name.
Yeah.
Like they fully were blasting like Callie for that. I think because again, I'm relatively new to this genre. I just roll with so many things. I'm like, okay, this is what you name people in these books. Okay.
This is what's happening. Yeah. The other thing too, I was like, everybody else had these like otherworldly names, Saris, Lorith, Carrion, Everlane. And then we have Malcolm. And I was like, that doesn't feel like it fits.
It doesn't. But it's also funny because for whatever reason, like Malcolms are villains in my head. I don't know where that came from. But like in my mind, Malcolms are just like, like the really bratty kid in a YA novel or the villain in this fantasy story. But yeah, I did feel very...
That's so funny.
Like it felt like a name from the human realm. But because they remark when Saris first shows up in... Evelia and Lane is talking with her and she introduces herself. She's like, yeah, my name is Saris Fane. Like Lane's first response is like, oh, that's a Fae name. And when Malcolm showed up, I was like, oh, that doesn't sound like a Fae name.
Yeah, not at all. The other thing I was curious, I don't remember Belicon. Where does he end up at the end?
He escapes. So both Belicon and Madra both escape at the end. So the only one of the three that actually is murdered or dies is Malcolm.
Yeah.
So they're like, they've escaped, I should say.
Do you think they go to what's it called?
Silverin. I would assume Madra goes back to Silverin, right? To her.
Yeah, but maybe Belicon goes with her. And that's why Carrion and Kingfisher go.
I feel like he would want to keep track of his own, like, palace, like the Winter Palace. I don't know why he wouldn't go back to the Winter Palace, at least not at the beginning.
People now know he's like a bad villain.
When you say people, it's only like that very small cohort of people. Like his people that he's ruling over don't know that.
Is that going to be well known throughout society?
Find out, or you'll find out.
Yeah, I was like, are you going to read the second book, Amanda?
No, I'll probably just read a summary because I am curious, but I don't know that I can. Although if there's like less smut or no smut in it, like I am curious, right? Like I did feel invested in the plot, obviously, as I was reading it. And I was like, I do want to know like more about these things that she's hinting at, but isn't fully telling us. Again, which is why I gave it a soft lit it and not or soft quit it. I'm sorry. I keep on a soft quit it. I was actually thinking about it prior to this episode. And I was like, I did feel relatively torn down the middle. And I was like, maybe this is just, I'm going to start a new thing where it's like, it's a quillet. It's just like smack in the middle. It's not a soft lit it. It's not a soft quit. It's just really fully smack in the middle.
Because the way you're talking about it, you enjoyed it more than
I did.
A soft quit it, I feel like. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but I also don't feel comfortable giving it a soft lit. Like that's expressing too much.
Quillet.
And so it's a quillet for me. I'm coining that term officially for future use.
Hilarious.
But yeah, like I think I can see why people like it. I can see why it has the rating it does, especially if you're somebody who enjoys romantasy. Yep. I think in terms of like final recommendations, if you don't like smut, you're not going to like chunks of this book like that are smutty. And you're probably going to get annoyed with these random conversations about sex that keep popping up when you're like, let's just actually talk about what matters here. But the story itself and the world itself is intriguing. And like I said, even just the fantasy or the fae vampire combo is something I haven't encountered before. And I'm like, yeah, okay, let's see how this plays out. So that's where I fall on this book.
Okay. So in the end, I would recommend this to people, especially people who like romantasy. Absolutely.
Yeah. Folks, you can chime in and let us know either on our socials or our email or on this episode on Spotify. You can comment. So please be sure to do that. Kelsey, do you want to give them like the specific, what is even the name? Social. It's not what do our handles? Yes. I was like, what do we call that?
So we are on Instagram at livevibesonly_podcast and on TikTok and YouTube at Live Vibes Only Podcast, where you can find us and engage in our content and hang out.
Yeah.
So, and of course, always rate and review on mostly Apple and Spotify, but wherever you get your podcasts. So
we're on multiple platforms.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for hanging out with us, guys. Definitely let us know your thoughts. And then be sure to check out our socials on Thursday so you can vote and let us know where you fall on this book, whether it's a lit it or quit it.
Or
otherwise,
this other quillet that Amanda has created.
No, that's just for me. Nobody else gets to use that. All right, folks. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next Monday.
Bye.
Bye.